We want to look and again review the change in momentum, exactly what that means, and then we want to go to something that's a little bit new in the Elliott wave, and that is the target zone. The target zone, remember, is one of our 5 magic bullets, and the target zone is what we have found is that it's one of the most consistent predictors of the end of a trend. The target zone is where that end of the trend will end. And when you get the other 4 bullets in there, that's almost a gimme. So let's go to day 2 of week 9 of the Elliott wave. As you well know, the fractal is a minimum of 5 consecutive bars, where the middle bar is higher or lower than the previous 2 bars and the following 2 bars. We'll look at this chart. The fractals are important this week because the fractals are one of the 5 magic bullets. And one of the things you will always know is that a trend starts, all trends will start and end in a fractal. For example, in this particular chart, there are a number of fractals, and you will notice that the price is staying away from the alligator's mouth. It peeks back into the alligator's mouth periodically, but it basically stays outside the alligator's mouth. When we look at the divergence, we're going to also look at this chart because this is a very unusual chart. We had a number of divergences up here, and we had a fractal on the top. We had all 5 magic bullets. This is the S&P. And the interesting thing is that in the next 6 days after this top, which was very easy to predict, one contract lost over $68,000. So here we have a fractal in the beginning, and this fractal is right here. If you trade your fractals, you will never, it's guaranteed, you will never ever be left out of a trend like this. So this was our first entry on this trend, and fractals will always end a trend. And here you have a fractal up ending a trend. So the fractal, just a quick review today. We won't spend much time on this. Just to remind you that all trends will end in a fractal, all trends will begin in a fractal, and the fractal is one of our 5 magic bullets. So, and the more magic bullets you have in any trend, you're coming closer and closer to the end of that trend. So let's take a look then at what we're talking about by a change in momentum. Change in momentum is very, very simple. This is the 534.5 awesome oscillator. It's also a close approximation to the running MFI, the Market Facilitation Index, which we discussed very thoroughly in our first book, Trading Chaos. I'm assuming that you understand what the MFI is, and this momentum indicator, this 534.5 awesome oscillator, is one of the most precise tools we have ever found in trading. A change in direction of momentum is indicated by a change in this oscillator, and to make it easier, what we've done is we've programmed this so that if this particular bar is lower, less momentum than the previous bar, we color it red. If this particular bar is higher and greater, more momentum than the previous bar, we color it green. So all you have to do is look at the colors. And we can program these, or you can program these on basically anything. This chart we're using is a commodity quote graphics chart. It also works on Telerate, on AIQ. It works on Advanced Get. It works on Supercharts, TradeStation, Windows on Wall Street, DTN, works on almost anything that's out there today. So the thing we want to look for here is a change in momentum. Now when we have the other magic bullets up here, we have a fractal in the top, we have a squat on one of the 3 top bars here, and when we get a change in momentum in this area, that becomes then very significant because the momentum will always change before the price does. And here you see the momentum change several days before the price change. Now the next magic bullet we want to look at is the target zone. And as I've already mentioned, this target zone is one of the most consistent predictors to come out of the Elliott wave. It's really quite simple, and we'll show you exactly how to do it. And most software vendors have in their arsenal a Fibonacci expansion that will let you do this with just a couple of mouse clicks. First thing we want to do is find the difference between the top of wave 3 and the beginning of wave 1, or if it's in a down market, the bottom of wave 3 and the beginning of wave 1. So here we have wave 1, 2, 3, and what we want to do is take that price difference, the price at 3, and subtract the price at the beginning of 1. So when we take that price difference, and then what we want to do is go over to wave 4 and add that price difference to there. So what we've done very simply is we've taken the distance between the top of wave 3 and the beginning of wave 1, this distance here, that length, and we've transferred that length over to the bottom of wave 4 and added it to wave 4. Then the next step is very simple. All we do is we take 100% of that, which would be the top of that bar, and 62% of that. And what we found in actual practice is 92% of the time, that's 9 times out of 10, this 5th wave is going to end up here in this 62 to 100% of the distance between the beginning of wave 1 and the ending of wave 3. Let's look at that on a chart now. The target zone in the chart. Here we have a chart, and we've knocked off a little bit of the left side of the chart so you can see it better, so it'll be a little bit clearer. But we know that this is wave 3 because it peaks. We'll talk more about that a little later this week. We know that this fulfills the minimum requirements for wave 4 because the oscillator came below 0. We'll also come back to that tomorrow. But right now, we want to take the difference between the wave 3 up here, which was 189 even, and the beginning of wave 1 was 156 even, and that difference is 3,300 points. Then we come over here to the bottom of wave 4, and we add that to the bottom of wave 4. And the end of wave 4 is 181.15, so 100% of that, added that 3,300 to 181.50 would be 214.50, and 62% of that would be 201.96. And then we'll take this 3 and 4 and 5 and put in the target zone. 100% is up there at 214.50, and 62% is there at 201.96. And sure enough, this was the end of the 5th wave. This was wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 5th, and it ended here, and the next move was a considerably fast move down. So this target zone is one of the most important of our 5 magic bullets because it's highly predictive. It's going to be right over 9 times out of 10. So with that kind of odds, you can hardly miss. that's probably enough for us for day 2 of week 9. Get a good night's sleep, do your AT, do your morning pages. We'll come back tomorrow, and tomorrow we're going to be putting those 5 magic bullets together so that you can see how they work in the market for picking out the tops and the bottom. So have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.